Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the stars through the main screen of the USS Liberty. The small ship moved quietly through deep space, far from any human colony. His crew of 4 had been out here for 6 months, mapping new star systems and looking for planets that humans might one day call home. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lisa Parker from her position at the navigation console. Her voice carried a note of concern that made Jake lean forward in his chair. "What kind of strange?" Jake asked, his fingers already moving toward the ship's alert controls. Lisa's hands danced across her instruments. "There's a lot of debris in the Kalani system. Way too much for normal space traffic." The Kalani system was home to a peaceful race of blue-skinned humanoids who had never shown any interest in war or expansion. They were traders and artists, known throughout this sector for their beautiful crystal sculptures and fair business practices. Jake had visited their worlds twice during his career and found them to be gentle, welcoming people. "Danny, take us in closer but keep us hidden," Jake ordered. Engineer Danny Rodriguez nodded and adjusted their course, using the ship's stealth systems to mask their approach. As they drew nearer to the Kalani system, the truth became clear. What Lisa had detected as debris was actually the remains of an entire civilization. Twisted metal that had once been ships floated in the darkness. Chunks of what looked like building materials drifted past their ship. "Dear God," whispered Dr. Sam Hughes from his medical station. His face had gone pale as he stared at the readings on his screen. Amy Collins, their communications officer, looked up from her console with tears in her eyes. "Captain, I'm not picking up any signals from the planets. Nothing at all." Jake felt his stomach drop. He had seen war before, but nothing like this. The Kalani had 3 beautiful worlds in this system, each home to millions of peaceful beings. Now there was only silence. "Take us to the 3rd planet," Jake said quietly. "The one with the big cities." As the Liberty approached Kalani Prime, the full horror became visible on their screens. The planet's surface was scarred with massive craters where cities had once stood. The blue oceans were now dark with ash and debris. Nothing moved on the surface. Nothing lived. "Who could do this?" Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Jake could answer, Danny's console started beeping frantically. "Captain, I'm reading massive engine signatures coming our way. Really massive." Jake's blood ran cold. "How massive?" "Bigger than anything I've ever seen. And there are a lot of them." Through the main screen, they watched as ship after ship appeared from behind the system's largest moon. These were not like any vessels Jake had ever encountered. They were huge, dark red, in color and moved with the deadly grace of predators. Their hulls were covered in weapon ports and strange symbols were painted along their sides. "Count them," Jake ordered, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Amy's fingers flew over her console. "I count over 200 ships, Captain. The largest ones are 15 times bigger than anything in the human fleet." Jake watched the alien fleet form up into a perfect battle formation. These were not explorers or traders. These were conquerors, and they had just finished destroying an entire civilization. "Danny, can you boost our sensors without them detecting us?" "I think so, Captain. These stealth systems are pretty good." For the next hour, they watched and recorded as the alien fleet finished its grim work. The ships moved with practiced efficiency, collecting certain types of debris while destroying everything else. They were harvesting resources from the dead world, taking anything useful before moving on. Dr. Hughes studied the recordings they were making. "Captain, look at this. They're not just random destroyers. This is organized, professional. They've done this before." Jake nodded grimly. The way the alien ships moved, the way they worked together, it all spoke of long experience. This fleet had destroyed many worlds before Kalani, and they would destroy many more. "Amy, are you getting any of their communications?" "Yes, Captain. I can't understand the language, but I'm recording everything. Maybe the computers back home can make sense of it." As they watched, the alien fleet began to move again. Jake felt his heart stop as he realized they were heading in a specific direction. A direction he knew all too well. "Lisa, plot their course. Where are they going?" Lisa worked quickly, using the fleet's movement to calculate their destination. When she looked up, her face was white with fear. "Captain, if they maintain this heading and speed, they'll reach human space in about 3 weeks. "Which colony?" "New Boston, sir. 12 million people." Jake closed his eyes for a moment, trying to think. New Boston was a thriving human colony, full of families and children. It had some defenses, but nothing that could stand against the fleet they had just witnessed. The people there had no idea what was coming for them. "Danny, what's the status of our long-range communicator?" Danny checked his instruments and shook his head. "Still damaged from that solar storm last week. I can get short-range signals out, but nothing that could reach the inner colonies." Jake looked around at his crew. 4 people in a small survey ship, carrying the only warning that could save 12 million lives. The weight of it settled on his shoulders like a physical burden. "How fast can we get to the nearest human outpost?" "Outpost Gamma is closest," Lisa said. "About 4 days at maximum speed." "And how long until that fleet reaches New Boston?" Lisa rechecked her calculations. 6 days, Captain." Jake made his decision. "Set course for Outpost Gamma. Maximum speed. Amy, start preparing a full report of everything we've seen here. We may be the only ones who can warn them." As the Liberty turned away from the colony system, Jake took one last look at the destroyed worlds on his screen. Somewhere out there, an alien empire was spreading across the galaxy like a plague, destroying everything in its path. Now they were coming for humanity, and a small survey ship was the only thing standing between them and another massacre. Theory. Stars had never seemed so cold or so empty as they did in that moment. The USS Liberty pushed through space at maximum speed for 3 days before Outpost Gamma appeared on their screens. The small military station hung in the darkness like a metal spider, its arms reaching out into the void. Jake had never been so happy to see a human structure in his life. "Outpost Gamma, this is Captain Morrison of the Liberty requesting immediate docking," Amy said into her communicator. "Liberty, this is Gamma Control. You're coming in pretty hot there, Captain. Everything all right?" Jake took the communicator from Amy. "Gamma Control. I need to speak with Colonel Brooks immediately. We have urgent information about a threat to human space." There was a pause before the voice came back, more serious now. "Copy that, Liberty. You're cleared for emergency, docking at Bay 3. Colonel Helen Brooks was waiting for them when they stepped off their ship. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her stood Commander Rick Taylor, a younger man who looked like he had been pulled away from something important. "Captain Morrison, you look like you've seen a ghost," Colonel Brooks said. "What's this about a threat?" Jake wasted no time. "Colonel, we need to talk privately. What I'm about to show you could change everything." They gathered in the station's main briefing room. Jake connected his ship's data recorder to the room's display system and began showing them what they had witnessed at Kalani. The room fell, silent as the images played. Destroyed worlds, floating debris, and then the massive alien fleet moving with deadly purpose. Commander Taylor leaned forward in his chair, his face growing pale. "How many ships did you count?" Colonel Brooks asked, her voice steady despite what she was seeing. "Over 200, Lisa answered. "The biggest ones are huge, bigger than anything we have." Dr. Hughes stepped forward with his tablet. "Colonel, I've been studying the recordings we made. These aliens, they're not just random destroyers. Look at how they move, how they work together. This is a military machine that's been doing this for a long time." He showed them enhanced images of the alien ships. "See these weapon ports? These ships are built for one thing: destroying planets and taking resources. They've probably done this to dozens of worlds." Commander Taylor spoke up for the first time. "Where are they heading?" Jake felt the weight of his next words. "New Boston, they'll be there in 3 days." The silence that followed was deafening. Everyone in the room knew New Boston. It was one of humanity's most successful colonies, home to 12 million people, including families, children, and elderly citizens who had never known war. "What kind of defenses does New Boston have?" Jake asked. Commander Taylor rubbed his face with his hands. 6 patrol ships and a small space station. Nothing that could stop what you've shown us." Colonel Brooks stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. Captain Morrison, are you certain about their destination? Lisa ran the calculations 3 times. If they maintain their current course and speed, they'll reach New Boston in 72 hours. And our nearest fleet? The closest battle group is at Titan Station, Commander Taylor said. That's 2 weeks away at best. Jake watched as the reality of the situation settled over everyone in the room. 12 million people were about to die, and there was no way to save them with conventional forces. Danny Rodriguez had been quietly studying the technical data they had collected. Now he looked up with something that might have been hope in his eyes. Captain, I think I found something. Everyone turned to look at the young engineer. Danny put his own datapad on the table and began explaining. I've been looking at the way these alien ships are built. They're huge and powerful, but they all seem to work together like they're connected somehow. Look at this. He showed them energy readings from the alien fleet. See how all the smaller ships seem to be getting signals from the big ones? And all the big ones are getting signals from this one ship in the center. Dr. Hughes leaned in closer. You're saying they have a command structure? More than that, Danny said, getting excited. I think they have one main command ship that controls the entire fleet. If something happened to that ship, the whole fleet might fall apart, Jake finished. Commander Taylor shook his head. Even if that's true, how could we possibly get close enough to attack their command ship? You said there are over 200 vessels. Danny's excitement grew. We have something they might not expect. The Liberty has an experimental quantum torpedo that was designed for deep space mining. It's not a military weapon, but it's incredibly powerful. Powerful enough to damage their command ship? Colonel Brooks asked. If we could get close enough, maybe. But it would have to be a perfect shot. Jake felt a crazy idea forming in his mind. What if we followed them? Used our stealth systems to trail their fleet and look for an opportunity? That's suicide, Commander Taylor said immediately. Maybe, Jake replied. But it might be the only chance those 12 million people have. Amy had been working at her communication station during their discussion. Now she looked up with tears in her eyes. Captain, I've been trying to reach New Boston to warn them, but our long-range communicator is still damaged. I can send a signal to Earth, but it will take weeks to get there. And months for any help to reach New Boston, Colonel Brooks added. Jake looked around the room at the faces of his crew and the outpost commanders. They all knew what he was thinking. The Liberty was fast and small, with good stealth systems. They might be able to follow the alien fleet and find a way to disrupt their attack. Colonel, I'm requesting permission to shadow that alien fleet, Jake said formally. Captain, you're talking about taking 5 people against 200 warships. I'm talking about giving 12 million people a chance to live. Colonel Brooks was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Permission granted, but I want you to transmit all your data to us first. If you don't make it back, we need to know what we're facing. Jake felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders again. They were about to attempt something that was probably impossible, but the alternative was watching 12 million innocent people die without even trying to help them. We leave in 2 hours, he told his crew. Anyone who wants to stay behind can do so. No questions asked. Nobody moved. Lisa, Danny, Amy, and Dr. Hughes all looked back at him with determination in their eyes. Looks like we're all crazy, Captain, Amy said with a small smile. As they prepared to leave Outpost Gamma, Jake sent one last message toward Earth. It would take weeks to arrive, but maybe someday it would help explain what they had tried to do. The Liberty undocked and turned toward the alien fleet's projected course. Behind them, Outpost Gamma grew smaller until it disappeared among the stars. The Liberty had been following the alien fleet for 2 days now, staying far enough behind to avoid detection, but close enough to keep them on sensors. Jake watched the enemy formation through his ship's displays, counting the massive vessels, over and over again, hoping the numbers would somehow get smaller. They never did. 212 ships, Lisa reported from her station. Same as yesterday. The alien fleet moved through space like a dark cloud, their red hulls catching starlight and reflecting it back in an ominous glow. Jake had never seen anything so terrifying or so beautiful at the same time. "Danny, how are our stealth systems holding up?" Jake asked. "So far so good, Captain. But we can't keep this up forever. The power drain is pretty heavy." Dr. Hughes looked up from his medical station where he had been studying the alien ship configurations. "Captain, I think I've figured out more about how they organize their fleet." Jake turned to listen. Every piece of information they could gather might save lives. See that massive ship in the center of their formation? Dr. Hughes pointed to the main display. "I've been watching the energy patterns, and Danny was right. That ship is sending out constant signals to every other vessel in the fleet." The ship he was pointing to was enormous, easily 3 times larger than anything else in the alien armada. Its hull was darker than the others, almost black, with red markings that seemed to glow with their own light. "I've been calling it the command ship," Dr. Hughes continued. "Watch what happens when it changes course." He played back recordings from the past day, showing how every time the large central ship altered its heading, every other vessel in the fleet followed within seconds. It was like watching a school of fish move as one organism. "It's not just giving orders," Amy said, looking at her communication readings. "It's controlling them directly, like they're all parts of one big machine." Jake studied the formation more carefully. The command ship was surrounded by smaller vessels in perfect protective rings. Getting close to it would be like trying to reach the center of a deadly maze. "Danny, what would happen if we could take out that command ship?" Danny worked at his console for several minutes before answering. "If Dr. Hughes is right about how they're connected, it could cause chaos throughout their entire fleet. Ships might lose coordination, maybe even crash into each other. But getting close enough to attack it would be almost impossible," Lisa added. "Look at how well protected it is." Jake was about to respond when Amy's console started beeping frantically. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from New Boston. They know the aliens are coming. Put it on speakers." The voice that came through was tired and scared. "This is New Boston Control to any human vessels in the area. We have detected a large alien fleet approaching our system. We are beginning emergency evacuation procedures, but we don't have enough transport ships. Repeat, we need immediate assistance." Jake closed his eyes. 12 million people and not enough ships to save them all. The colony's 6 patrol ships would be destroyed in minutes against the force they were following. "How long until the aliens reach New Boston?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her calculations again. "About 18 hours, Captain." Dr. Hughes had continued studying the alien fleet during their conversation. Now he looked up with excitement and fear mixed on his face. "Captain, I think I found something important." He put a new display on the main screen showing energy patterns from the command ship. "I've been watching how that big ship coordinates the fleet's weapons. When they prepare for battle, it has to drop some of its defensive systems to boost its communication power." "You mean its shields get weaker?" "Not weaker exactly, but there's a brief window where they fluctuate. Maybe 2 or 3 seconds when our quantum torpedo might be able to get through." Danny leaned forward in his chair. "When does this happen?" "Right before they start shooting. The command ship gathers targeting data from all the other vessels, processes it, then sends firing instructions back to the fleet. During that processing time, there's the vulnerability." Jake felt his heart racing. It wasn't much of a chance, but it might be their only one. "How close would we need to get?" "Very close," Danny said quietly. "The quantum torpedo isn't designed for long-range combat. We'd have to be almost on top of them." Amy had been monitoring the alien communications. "Captain, their transmissions are getting more frequent. I think they're preparing for their attack on New Boston." Through the main display, they could see the alien fleet beginning to change formation. The protective rings around the command ship were spreading out, getting ready for battle. In a few hours, they would reach New Boston and begin another massacre. Jake looked around at his crew. Lisa was pale but determined, her hands steady on the navigation controls. Danny was running calculations on his engineering console, trying to find a way to make their impossible plan work. Dr. Hughes continued studying the alien ship patterns, looking for any advantage they could use. Amy monitored the increasingly desperate calls from New Boston. "There's something else." Dr. Hughes said suddenly. I've been thinking about what happens after we attack their command ship. Even if we succeed, even if we disrupt their fleet, we'll be right in the middle of 200 very angry alien warships. You mean we probably won't survive, Jake said. That's what I mean, Captain. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Everyone understood what they were facing. They could try to save 12 million people, but it would almost certainly cost them their own lives. I won't order anyone to do this, Jake said finally. This has to be a choice each of you makes. Lisa was the first to speak. Those people on New Boston have families, Captain. Children. They deserve a chance. The math works, Danny added. It's crazy, but it might actually work. Dr. Hughes nodded. I've seen what these aliens do to planets. We can't let that happen again. Amy wiped tears from her eyes, but her voice was steady. 12 million people. Captain, we have to try. Jake felt pride and sadness wash over him at the same time. His crew was willing to die for people they had never met, for a chance that might not even work. Then we do this together, he said. Danny, start preparing the quantum torpedo. Lisa, plot us an intercept course that gets us as close as possible to their command ship. Amy, send one last message to New Boston. Tell them to get as many people out as they can. As his crew began their preparations, Jake took one last look at the alien fleet on his display. In a few hours, they would either save 12 million lives or die trying. There was no middle ground, no safe option, no way to know if their sacrifice would mean anything, but they were going to try anyway because that's what humans did when faced with impossible odds. They fought back. The alien fleet had reached New Boston's outer system and was beginning its attack formation. Jake watched through the Liberty sensors as the enemy ships spread out in their deadly pattern, just as they had done at Kalani. In 12 hours, another world would be nothing but floating debris. Danny, status on the quantum torpedo? Jake asked. The young engineer looked up from his console, sweat beading on his forehead. It's ready, Captain. I've modified it to penetrate energy shields, but I can only give us one shot. If we miss, we won't miss, Jake said with more confidence than he felt. Lisa had been plotting their attack course for the past 6 hours. Captain, I think I found our best approach. New Boston has a large moon that we can use for cover. If we time it, right, we can use the alien bombardment as a distraction. She showed him the course on her navigation display. It was insane. They would have to fly directly through the outer edge of the alien fleet, past dozens of enemy ships, to reach the command vessel in the center. How long will we be exposed? Jake asked. About 3 minutes from the time we break cover until we reach firing range. 3 minutes with every alien ship in the fleet shooting at us. Dr. Hughes looked up from his medical station. Captain, I've been monitoring the alien communications. Their attack pattern is starting. They'll begin destroying New Boston's defenses in about 2 hours. Through their long-range sensors, they could see the colony's 6 patrol ships moving to intercept the alien fleet. It was brave and pointless. Those ships would be destroyed in seconds against the overwhelming enemy force. Amy, any word from New Boston about the evacuation? Jake asked. Amy's voice was tight with emotion. They've got about 2 million people off the planet so far, but the transport ships can't carry everyone. Most of the population is still down there. 10 million people still trapped on New Boston, waiting to die. Jake felt the weight of their lives pressing down on him like a physical force. All right, everyone, listen up, Jake said, standing from his command chair. In 1 hour, we're going to attempt something that's probably impossible. I want everyone to know that I'm proud to serve with you. Whatever happens, we've done our duty. His crew looked back at him with determined faces. They were scared, he could see that, but they weren't backing down. Danny, I want you to prepare the engines for maximum burn. We'll need every bit of speed we can get. Already done, Captain. The engines are ready to push us faster than this ship has ever gone. Lisa, once we start our attack run, don't worry about anything except getting us to that command ship. Ignore the enemy fire. Ignore everything else. When understood, Captain. Amy, the moment we fire our torpedo, I want you to broadcast emergency evacuation signals to New Boston on all frequencies. Tell them to get everyone off that planet. Yes, sir. Dr. Hughes, monitor our life support systems. This is going to get rough. Jake sat back down and took a deep breath. In an hour, they would either save millions of lives or die trying. There was no other option. The hour passed quickly. Jake watched as the alien fleet moved closer to New Boston, their massive ships blotting out the stars. The colony's patrol ships made their brave but doomed attack, disappearing in flashes of light as the enemy weapons found them. "It's time," Jake said quietly. Lisa engaged the engines and the Liberty began moving toward the alien fleet. They stayed, hidden behind New Boston's moon as long as possible, using its bulk to mask their approach. 30 seconds until we break cover," Lisa announced. Jake could feel his heart pounding in his chest. "Danny, is the torpedo ready?" "Ready, Captain." "Amy, are you prepared to send the evacuation signal?" "Ready, sir." "Dr. Hughes?" "All systems green, Captain." Jake gripped the arms of his command chair. "Here we go. Break cover now." The Liberty burst from behind the moon at maximum speed, racing toward the alien fleet. For a few precious seconds they went unnoticed. Then the enemy sensors found them. "They see us," Amy reported, as alien communications exploded with activity. The first enemy weapons fire lit up the space around them. Red beams of energy sliced through the darkness, missing the Liberty by meters. More ships turned toward them as they raced deeper into the alien formation. "Hull damage on decks 2 and 3, Dr. Hughes reported as an enemy beam grazed there. "Ship, keep going," Jake ordered. They flew past alien vessels that were 10 times their size, weaving between weapons fire that could have vaporized them instantly. The Liberty shook and bucked as enemy beams struck their shields. "Shields at 60%, Danny called out. "There's the command ship," Lisa said, pointing at the massive black vessel ahead of them. It was enormous up close, bristling with weapons and surrounded by a protective screen of smaller ships. As they watched, the command ship began gathering, targeting data from the rest of the fleet, preparing to coordinate the bombardment of New Boston. "Danny, do you see the shield fluctuation Dr. Hughes predicted?" "Not yet, Captain." "Wait, there. The shields are cycling. We have maybe 2 seconds. Fire the torpedo." Danny's finger slammed down on the firing control. The quantum torpedo streaked away from the Liberty, a bright point of light racing toward the alien command ship. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The torpedo hit the command ship's shields just as they flickered, penetrating the energy barrier and striking the massive vessel's hull. The explosion was incredible. The command ship's entire center section disappeared in a ball of white fire. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull as critical systems failed. "Direct hit!" Danny shouted. All around them, the alien fleet began to fall apart. Ships that had been moving in perfect coordination suddenly lost their formation. Some vessels collided with others as their automated systems failed. Weapons fire became scattered and uncoordinated. "Amy, send the evacuation signal now," Jake ordered. "Broadcasting on all frequencies, Captain. New Boston is receiving." The Liberty limped away from the chaos they had created, their hull scarred and their systems failing. But behind them, the mighty alien fleet was in complete disarray. "Captain," Lisa said with wonder in her voice, "I think we actually did it." Jake looked at the confused alien ships on his display and allowed himself a small smile. They had given 12 million people a chance to live. Whatever happened next, they had done the impossible. The Liberty drifted through space, its engines barely working and hull cracked in a dozen places. Jake could smell smoke from damaged circuits, and half their systems were showing red warning lights. But they were alive, and more importantly, the alien fleet behind them was in complete chaos. "Report," Jake said, though his voice was hoarse from shouting orders during their attack run. Dr. Hughes checked his readings. "We've got hull breaches on 3 decks, but life support is holding. Danny's keeping us together with spare parts and prayers." Danny looked up from his engineering station, oil smeared across his face. "The engines are damaged but working. We're not going anywhere fast, but we can move." "What about the alien fleet?" Jake asked. Lisa turned her sensors toward the enemy ships. What she saw made her smile for the first time in days. "Captain, you need to see this." On the main display, the once mighty alien armada was falling apart. Ships that had moved in perfect formation were now scattered across space like leaves in a storm. Some vessels had collided with each other when their coordination systems failed. Others were firing randomly, hitting their own ships as often as empty space. "Look at this," Amy said, her communication equipment picking up alien transmissions. "Their radio chatter is complete confusion. They don't know what to do without their command ship." Through their sensors, they watched as individual alien captains tried to take control of small groups of ships. But without the central coordination they had always relied on, most attempts ended in more collisions and friendly fire incidents. "Amy, are you still in contact with New Boston?" Jake asked. "Yes, Captain, the evacuation is going much faster now. With the alien fleet in disarray, the transport ships have more time to load passengers." Jake felt relief wash over him. People were escaping. Their desperate attack had worked. "Captain," Dr. Hughes said, looking at long-range sensors, "I'm picking up human ships approaching the system. Looks like a small battle group." Jake frowned. "That's impossible. The nearest human fleet was weeks away." Amy worked at her communication console and then looked up with excitement. "Captain, I'm getting a transmission from the UHS Defender. It's Commander Taylor from Outpost Gamma." "Put him through." Commander Taylor's voice came through their speakers, filled with relief and amazement. "Liberty, this is Taylor. We saw your emergency signal and came as fast as we could. What's your status?" "We're alive, Commander, but barely. What are you doing here? How did you get here so fast?" "After you left, Colonel Brooks sent out emergency calls to every human ship in 3 sectors. We managed to gather 12 vessels and pushed our engines past the red line to get here. But it looks like you didn't need our help." Jake looked at the confused alien fleet on his display. "Commander, the alien command structure is broken. Their ships can't coordinate anymore." "We can see that, Liberty. It's incredible. How did 5 people in a survey ship manage to defeat an entire alien armada?" "We found their weakness and got lucky," Jake said simply. Over the next few hours, the human battle group arrived in the New Boston system. But instead of facing an overwhelming enemy fleet, they found scattered alien ships that could barely work together. The human commanders quickly realized they had a unique opportunity. "Liberty, this is Admiral Chen aboard the UHS Washington," came a new voice. "I'm taking command of the combined fleet. Your attack has given us a chance to drive these aliens out of human space." Jake watched as the human ships began attacking individual alien vessels. Without their central coordination, the enemy ships fell one by one. Some alien captains tried to retreat, others attempted to surrender, and a few kept fighting with the desperate fury of cornered animals. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm getting reports from other human colonies. Word of what happened here is spreading fast." "What kind of reports?" "Other human fleets are using our tactics. They're targeting command ships in alien fleets across 3 sectors. The alien expansion has stopped." Jake felt something he hadn't experienced in days. Hope. Their desperate gamble hadn't just saved New Boston. It had revealed how to defeat an enemy that had seemed unstoppable. Dr. Hughes was monitoring the medical channels from New Boston. "Captain, the final evacuation ships are lifting off. They got everyone out. All 12 million people are safe." The bridge of the Liberty fell silent as the crew absorbed what they had accomplished. 5 people in a damaged survey ship had saved 12 million lives and potentially changed the course of a galactic war. "Amy, send a message to Earth Command," Jake said. "Tell them about the alien weakness. Every human fleet needs to know about their command structure vulnerability." As Amy worked on the message, Jake looked around at his crew. Lisa was already plotting a course back to human space. Danny was still working to repair their damaged systems. Dr. Hughes was checking on everyone's injuries from their desperate attack run. They all looked exhausted but proud. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm getting a priority transmission from Earth Command." "Put it through." A formal voice came through their speakers. "Liberty, this is Admiral Morrison at Earth Command. We've received reports of your actions at New Boston. The entire human fleet is implementing your tactics against alien command vessels." Jake smiled at hearing his own last name. Maybe a relative, maybe just coincidence, but it felt like a good sign. "Sir, we just did what we had to do," Jake replied. Captain, because of your crew's actions, alien fleets across the galaxy are in retreat. 300 years of unstoppable expansion has ended. You've given humanity and a dozen other species a chance to fight back. As the days passed, more reports came. Inhuman fleets were hunting down alien command ships throughout the galaxy. The once mighty alien empire was crumbling as their coordination systems failed one by one. The Liberty limped back toward human space, escorted by the victorious human battle group. Behind them, New Boston began the long process of rebuilding. It's 12 million people alive because 5 humans had refused to accept defeat. You know what this means? Danny said as they watched the stars through their repaired main screen. What? Jake asked. We're heroes. They're probably going to write songs about us. Lisa laughed. I just hope they get our names right. Jake smiled and settled back in his command chair. They had started this journey as a simple survey crew mapping distant star systems. They were ending it as the people who had stopped a galactic empire and saved millions of lives. Sometimes, Jake thought, the smallest ships could make the biggest difference. The Liberty sailed on through the stars, carrying its crew home to a galaxy that was finally free.